I have come to see more clearly with each passing year. A truth that explains why some men and women rise above the limitations of their environment, while others remain forever shackled by them. The truth is this: the way you walk through life, the way you carry yourself in your daily affairs, the way you approach your challenges and opportunities, determines more than all the books you have read or the advice you have been given. Walk as though it is already yours, even if you are terrified inside. Because the world does not bend to those who hesitate, it bends to those who move with certainty, those who act as though the ground beneath their feet belongs to them, and the future has already been signed in their favor. If you will study the lives of the successful, you will see that before they held the evidence in their hands, they held the evidence in their bearing. They lived in advance of the reality they sought. They walked with possession long before the prize was theirs. And in that act of walking, they attracted the conditions, the people, and the resources necessary to bring it into being. What keeps most men from realizing this is fear. Fear of failure, fear of ridicule, fear of not being ready, fear of not deserving. But fear is nothing more than a shadow that takes the form you give it. And the tragedy is that people believe they must first eliminate fear before they can walk boldly. The opposite is true. You walk boldly while the fear is present. You step forward while your heart trembles. You speak while your voice shakes. The act itself is the cure. The courage is born in the walking, not in the waiting. Fear does not vanish in the silence of inaction. It dissipates in the rhythm of decisive motion. When a man carries himself as though the outcome is assured, his very posture begins to rewrite the story of his destiny. The shoulders come back, the eyes lift, the pace steadies, and strangely enough, the world responds as though it believes him. People are drawn to certainty like moths to light, and they cannot help but align with the one who walks as though he knows. Now pause for a moment and reflect on this. Think of a time in your life when you were unsure, yet you carried yourself with a kind of quiet authority, and the situation shifted in your favor. Perhaps it was an interview where you decided to act like the job was already yours. Perhaps it was a competition where you stood on the starting line as though you had already crossed the finish. Or perhaps it was in a relationship where your calm assurance won respect that pleading never could. In each case, the outcome tilted toward your bearing. This is not magic, it is law. The law is this: what you embody internally, you will magnetize externally. When you walk as though it is already yours, even in the grip of terror, the world adjusts to the conviction you radiate, and the astonishing thing is that your own subconscious mind begins to take the posture as fact. It says, "This must be who I am because this is how I act." In time, the terror shrinks and the assurance expands until you can scarcely remember a time you were doubtful. I am not saying you must pretend in the sense of lying or self-deceit. I am saying you must assume the state you desire and let your actions confirm it. There is a difference between faking and assuming. Faking is shallow, it collapses at the first test. Assuming is rooted in faith. It carries you through trial after trial because it is anchored in a higher conviction. When a king walks into a room, he does not ask permission to be king, he simply is. He does not need to raise his voice to display his crown or to boast of his victories. His presence communicates authority because he has assumed it in his very bones. You too must assume the identity of the person you wish to become. Walk into the day as though you already are the successful, capable, confident individual you have long dreamed of being. Even if your knees knock beneath your trousers, walk. Even if your palms sweat, speak. Even if your heart pounds, act. For the assumption precedes the evidence, and the evidence will come. Fear will whisper that you are not ready. But here is another law to engrave in your mind. Readiness is not a requirement, it is a result. We grow ready in the doing, not in the waiting. Every master was once a trembling beginner. Every leader once questioned whether he had what it took. But they began while they were terrified, and in beginning they discovered what no amount of sitting on the sidelines could ever teach them, that fear is a mirage, that doubt is a chain we can break simply by moving forward one step at a time. If you wait until you no longer feel fear, you will wait for the rest of your life. So decide instead that you will walk with the fear, speak with the fear, act with the fear. And soon you will find that the fear has been left far behind you, unable to keep pace with the steady march of your progress. Consider also the invisible communication you are broadcasting to those around you. People are constantly measuring one another, not in words but in posture, tone, and presence. They can sense whether you believe in yourself or not. They can feel whether you have already accepted ownership of your future or whether you are still negotiating with it. And here lies the great opportunity. When you walk like it is already yours, even if terror shakes you inside, you transmit a signal of inevitability. Employers sense it, clients sense it, friends and strangers sense it, and opportunities gather around you as though drawn by gravity. This is not chance. It is the way human beings are wired. We are attracted to conviction. We trust those who trust themselves. And when you step forward as if your victory is certain, others begin to conspire with you to bring it about. Let me ask you, what would change in your life if you lived this way for just 30 days? If every morning you rose and carried yourself as though your dreams were already signed and delivered, how would you dress? How would you speak? How would you work? What conversations would you no longer avoid? What risks would you finally take? And what doors would you knock on with a steady hand rather than a hesitant one? Write it down. Sketch the image of yourself walking with that kind of certainty. Let it imprint itself upon your mind until it becomes second nature. For 30 days, commit to walking as though it is already yours. You will discover that the world itself begins to bend, opportunities come into view, and even your inner voice begins to say, yes, this is who I am. And now I want you to affirm it with me. Speak it out loud if you can. Write it down if you must. Inscribe it upon your heart. Say it with me. I am one with courage and conviction. Even in fear, I walk as though it is already mine. Let that be the law you carry today. Say it again tomorrow. Say it until the words no longer feel like a stretch, but a reflection of the truth you live. For the man who walks with ownership in his step and faith in his voice is already halfway to the summit. The world does not wait for him to be ready. It bows to the one who dares to act ready now. Walk as though it is already yours, even if you are terrified, and in time it will be. There is another dimension to this truth, and it may strike you with even greater force than the first. Walking as though it is already yours is not merely a performance for the outside world. It is a reprogramming of your inner world. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between an action born of certainty and one born of doubt. It simply records what you repeatedly do and builds its picture of who you are from there. When you carry yourself as though you already possess the victory, your subconscious accepts that image as fact and begins aligning your emotions, your energy, and even your physiology toward that identity. This is why athletes visualize before they perform. This is why leaders often adopt rituals of presence before they enter a negotiation. They are not tricking others, they are reconditioning themselves. And so when you walk with conviction, even while terrified, you are planting seeds in your subconscious soil that will grow into unshakable belief. The subconscious says, if I am acting like this, then I must be this, and soon the fear fades, not because you conquered it once, but because you starved it of oxygen day by day. Think about the opposite for a moment. Think of the countless times men and women have walked as though they were defeated before the contest even began. Shoulders slumped, voice faltering, eyes lowered. They rehearsed failure before anyone else declared it. They told their subconscious, this is who I am, and it complied. And so the tragedy multiplied. Their posture created their performance. Their performance reinforced their posture. And soon the defeat was not only an event, it was an identity. This is why so many people live out lives of quiet desperation, never knowing that they rehearsed the wrong script, never realizing they broadcast their own downfall with every hesitant step. You must see this clearly. Every act is a signal, every step is a rehearsal, every posture is a command to your own mind, and the only way to escape the loop of fear is to consciously choose a different rehearsal, a different walk, a different command. The law here is simple, and I encourage you to say it, to write it, to engrave it on the page before you. I am the author of my inner script. I choose the walk of certainty. I refuse to rehearse defeat. Now imagine if you lived by that line. Imagine if every encounter in your day, from the smallest meeting to the greatest opportunity, was framed by that conviction. People would feel something shift in you. They may not know what has changed, but they will sense it. Your words would carry more weight, your silence would command more respect, and your own body would align with that chosen script. The nervous flutter in your chest would begin to calm, the hesitation in your tone would begin to firm, and the scattered energy of doubt would consolidate into a single steady beam of direction. All of it from a decision you made to walk a different way. This is why confidence is often misunderstood. People believe confidence is the absence of fear. In reality, confidence is the result of living in alignment with the inner script you have chosen. A man who tells himself daily, I am capable, I am worthy, I am prepared, and then acts in agreement with those words cannot help but radiate confidence. It is not arrogance because it is not born of comparison. It is certainty born of consistent rehearsal, and the world rewards such certainty. The employer feels it in the interview. The customer feels it in the sale. The stranger feels it in your handshake, and you feel it in your own spine when you rise each morning. Confidence is not given. It is not inherited. It is rehearsed into being. And the rehearsal begins the moment you decide to walk as though it is already yours. But there is more. You cannot simply walk this way for a single day and expect permanent transformation. Just as no farmer plants seed once and expects harvest for a lifetime, you must cultivate this posture daily. This means repetition. This means discipline. This means walking as though it is already yours on the good days and on the dark days when fear is loud and doubt is heavy. It means showing up with the same stride in uncertainty as in certainty until the uncertainty has no choice but to dissolve. Success, after all, is nothing more than a progressive realization of a worthy goal. And progressive realization means daily practice. Walk with possession until possession feels natural. Walk with conviction until conviction feels inevitable. And walk with faith until fear forgets your name. You may wonder, is this truly necessary? Can one not simply work hard and let the results speak for themselves? But hard work without inner conviction is like a ship without a rudder. It may move, but it will drift. It may travel, but it will wander. And in the end, it may expend great energy without ever arriving. Work fueled by conviction is different. It is directional. It is precise. It is steady. It does not waste energy in hesitation or in second guessing. It cuts through doubt like a blade. And this is why two men of equal skill, equal education, and equal opportunity can live lives of vastly different outcomes. One walks with possession, the other with hesitation. One assumes ownership, the other waits for permission. And the difference multiplies until one man lives as a leader and the other as a follower. Decide which one you will be. Now let us bring this closer to home. Tomorrow morning when you rise, before you speak to another soul, stand before the mirror and look at yourself. Do not ask, "Who am I today?" Declare, "This is who I am." Speak your law aloud, and then step into your day with the gait of a man or woman who knows. It may feel strange at first, it may feel like theater, but remember this, it only feels like theater because you have rehearsed the wrong play for too long. Soon this new play will feel natural, soon the audience of your life will believe it because you believe it, and soon the curtain will rise on a destiny you once thought unreachable, made reachable by nothing more than the decision to walk a different way. So once more, let us write it, let us speak it, let us inscribe it upon the mind until it cannot be forgotten. I am the author of my inner script. I choose the walk of certainty. I refuse to rehearse defeat. Carry this with you, not as a phrase you heard today, but as a law you live tomorrow. Say it again tonight. Say it until your subconscious accepts it without question. Say it until your walk changes. Say it until your future changes, and it will change. There is a principle at work beneath all of this that we must understand if we are to make lasting use of it. Human beings do not act in accordance with the truth of their potential. They act in accordance with the image they hold of themselves. That image, sometimes clear, sometimes clouded, acts like a thermostat. No matter how high you rise, you will eventually return to the level your inner picture dictates. And no matter how low you fall, if your inner picture is set higher, you will rise again to meet it. This is why the walk of certainty is so powerful. It is not only a performance to the world, it is the act of resetting your inner image. When you walk as though it is already yours, you are raising the thermostat of your self-concept. You are saying to your subconscious, "I belong here. This is my level. This is my place." And as the days pass, your subconscious begins to conform to that new image, pulling your actions, your choices, and even your circumstances upward to meet it. That is not fantasy. That is law. Your life always expands or contracts to fit the image you hold inside. So many people fail to realize this and spend their lives sabotaging themselves, not because they lack ability, but because they lack permission from their own inner image. They may work hard, but their subconscious whispers, "This is not for you." They may try, but their inner voice says, "You don't deserve it." And so they trip at the finish line. They give up before the breakthrough. They reject the very opportunities that could set them free. This is why the world is full of talented, hard-working men and women who never rise above mediocrity. They never learn to change their self-image. They never learn to walk as though it was already theirs. They never raised the thermostat. And because of that, their lives remained locked in a smaller room than their potential would allow. But you are not bound to that fate. You can raise the thermostat, you can step into a higher picture of yourself, and it begins with the decision to act as though you are already the person you desire to become. The law here is unmistakable, and I encourage you to pause and declare it with me. I am worthy of greatness. My inner image rises to meet my dreams. I walk in alignment with who I am becoming. Write it down, speak it aloud. Let it imprint itself on the very fabric of your thinking, because once your inner image shifts, the outer world must follow. Opportunities that once seemed unreachable will now feel natural. Relationships that once intimidated you will now feel equal. Challenges that once seemed overwhelming will now feel proportionate to your strength. And all of this not because the world changed overnight, but because your self-image demanded that it rise to match your new walk. Now consider this. Every act of walking as though it is already yours is not a single step forward. It is also a chisel stroke on the statue of your identity. Each day you carry yourself differently. You chip away at the old image of doubt and fear. Each word you speak with conviction reshapes the contours of who you believe yourself to be. Each risk you take while trembling builds a monument to courage in your subconscious. And just as a sculptor chips away at stone to reveal the figure hidden within, so you chip away at the lies and limitations until the true image of your potential emerges. The masterpiece was always there. It only needed the discipline of consistent action to set it free. This is why it is not enough to think positively for a moment and then return to old habits. Your subconscious is not swayed by a single flash of inspiration. It is reprogrammed through repetition, through daily proof, through steady rehearsal. Walk with ownership in small things, and you will find it easier to walk with ownership in great things. Carry yourself with conviction in your daily tasks, and you will carry it naturally into the larger battles of your life. The rehearsal never ends, but neither does the reward. For each day you live in this way, you are building a self-image strong enough to withstand storms, resilient enough to recover from defeat, and courageous enough to pursue visions that once seemed beyond imagination. Many men and women hope their self-image will improve once they succeed, but they have the order reversed. Success follows self-image, not the other way around. A man must see himself as worthy before the world sees him as worthy. A woman must carry herself as capable before the world entrusts her with responsibility. This is the great paradox. By acting as though it is already yours, you become the kind of person for whom it truly is. That is why the timid remain on the sidelines and the bold take the field. The timid wait for evidence before believing. The bold believe, and in believing they create the evidence. And the evidence once created confirms the image further, creating a cycle of growth, of faith, of expansion. The timid shrink because they rehearse defeat. The bold expand because they rehearse victory. Which will you choose? I want you to imagine for a moment a higher version of yourself. Confident, disciplined, successful, unshaken by fear. Picture how this self would walk into the world. Picture how they would speak, how they would work, how they would rest at night with assurance. Now ask yourself this simple question. What would stop me from living like that today? The answer is nothing but the image you carry. The resources are not absent. The opportunities are not absent. The ability is not absent. What is absent is permission, and permission can only be granted by you. Decide now to grant it. Decide now to step into that higher image, not tomorrow, not after the evidence appears, but now. For every day you delay, the old image tightens its grip, and every day you choose to walk as though it is already yours, the new image strengthens. So take this with you as a law, a living principle. I am worthy of greatness. My inner image rises to meet my dreams. I walk in alignment with who I am becoming. Say it again tonight. Say it in the morning. Write it until your hand remembers. Speak it until your voice believes. And most of all, walk it until the world confirms it, because in time it will. There is a further truth that must be faced if you are to master this law. Walking as though it is already yours does not mean arrogance. It does not mean boasting, nor does it mean pretending you are above others. It means you assume the quiet dignity of ownership, the calm bearing of someone who knows where he is going and what he is about. True ownership is never loud. It does not need to announce itself because it is evident in every gesture, every tone, every decision. A man or woman who must constantly declare their worth has not yet believed it themselves. But the one who has assumed it within has no need to prove it without. The world will see it. The world will feel it. The world will know it. So remember this. Walk with assurance, not arrogance, with confidence, not conceit, with calmness, not swagger. For it is not the loud step that wins respect. It is the steady one. The subtlety here is that walking as though it is already yours is more about service than possession. When you walk with certainty, you make others feel safe to follow. When you speak with conviction, you give others permission to believe, and when you live as though your victory is assured, you become a lighthouse to those still tossed about by fear. This is why true leaders are not those who shout the loudest, but those who radiate certainty even when storms rage. People gather around them not because of their titles, but because of their presence. And so when you practice this law, do not think only of what it gains you, think also of what it gives to those around you. Your certainty becomes their certainty. Your calm becomes their calm. Your faith becomes their faith. This is why the man who walks as though it is already his uplifts not only himself but everyone in his orbit. Now we must acknowledge that the world will test you. When you begin to walk with certainty, you will be confronted by doubt. Not only your own, but the doubt of others. People may scoff, they may question, they may even ridicule, and yet this is the very test that proves the authenticity of your walk. For if you only walk with ownership when everyone else agrees, you are not walking with ownership at all. You are merely borrowing the approval of the crowd. But when you walk with certainty in the face of criticism, in the presence of resistance, in the absence of applause, then you are truly living the law. It is in those moments of solitude, when you have only your conviction to guide you, that the seeds of greatness are most deeply planted. And when the harvest comes, the same people who doubted will marvel at the fruit. Here lies another law you must engrave upon your paper, your heart and your mind. I am unshaken by doubt. I walk steady in the face of resistance. My certainty is my compass. Say it with me. Write it now, for you will need it. In the days ahead, there will be tests. There will be moments when your old image calls you back, when fear whispers again, when others do not see what you see. And in those moments, you must remember this law. Repeat it. Stand on it. Let it guide your stride when nothing else will. For the man who can walk with certainty without external validation is the man who has already won. Consider how many people falter simply because they cannot withstand the doubt of others. They may begin well, but a single comment, a single raised eyebrow, a single word of criticism, and their stride collapses. They give their compass to the crowd and wonder why they drift. Do not be one of them. Expect doubt. Welcome it. Let it be the backdrop against which your certainty shines brighter. For the one who perseveres through doubt will soon be the one others point to and say, "He knew all along, she believed before the rest of us did." And that is the mark of true leadership, the kind the world never forgets. There is also a paradox to recognize. When you walk with quiet assurance, not demanding recognition, you often attract more respect than the one who clamors for attention. People can sense authenticity. They know the difference between confidence and pretense. They are drawn to the man who does not need to explain himself because his life explains him. They are drawn to the woman who does not need to defend her worth because her bearing confirms it. And so the great irony is that by refusing to beg for approval, you often win it. By walking as though it is already yours, you create the very reality you seek without ever having to grasp for it. Think also of the legacy you are creating. Every day you walk with conviction, even in fear. You are writing a story your children may read in your example, a story your colleagues may follow in your footsteps, a story your friends may repeat when they speak of you. Do not underestimate the ripple effect of your bearing. A steady walk today may inspire courage in someone you have never met tomorrow. And though you may never know the full extent of your influence, the world will be better for it. This is the hidden reward of walking as though it is already yours. It multiplies beyond you. It creates courage in others. And that, my friend, is the mark of a life well lived. So let us anchor ourselves again with the law. I am unshaken by doubt. I walk steady in the face of resistance. My certainty is my compass. Say it in the morning when you rise. Say it in the evening when you rest. Say it when the critics speak. Say it when fear stirs again. And walk with it until it is no longer a phrase on your lips but a truth in your bones. For the day will come when the world bows to the one who never bowed to doubt. And when that day comes, you will know that it was your stride, steady and sure, that carried you there. There is a further dimension to this practice that we must not overlook, for it is the thread that ties all progress together, discipline. Walking as though it is already yours is not a matter of mood, nor is it something to practice only when you feel strong. It is a discipline, a choice made day after day, regardless of whether the sun is shining or the clouds are heavy. Discipline is the bridge between the image you hold and the life you live. Without it, the vision remains a dream. With it, the dream becomes a destiny. Every morning you rise, you must recommit to the stride, to the voice, to the bearing of the person you intend to be. The undisciplined man waits for inspiration. The disciplined man creates it by his walk, and the world, observing this steady consistency, begins to treat him as the owner long before the deed is in his hand. Discipline also separates the short burst of enthusiasm from the steady fire of transformation. Anyone can walk with certainty for a day, perhaps even a week, while the thrill of new ideas fills their mind. But the disciplined carry themselves this way for years, until the posture has become their second nature, until fear has long since starved from neglect, until doubt no longer finds a place to sit in their house. That is why discipline must be embraced not as a punishment, but as a privilege. It is the daily act of aligning your walk with your vision regardless of circumstance. Discipline says, I choose to act like the person I desire to be, even when no one is watching, even when no reward is visible. And in that choice, day after day, a man becomes unstoppable. Now, let us speak clearly. Discipline is often uncomfortable. It means rising when the body begs for more rest. It means speaking with conviction when silence would be easier. It means taking the harder path when the easier one tempts. But consider this truth. The pain of discipline is measured in ounces, while the weight of regret is measured in tons. The man who chooses discipline bears a temporary strain, but the man who chooses comfort bears a lifelong chain. Walking as though it is already yours will demand discipline in moments when fear urges retreat. But each time you choose discipline, the chain of fear weakens and the muscle of certainty strengthens. Soon the very act that once terrified you becomes the act that defines you. The law here must be written and repeated until it is carved into your will. I embrace discipline as my freedom. My daily walk forges my destiny. I refuse the chains of comfort. Write it down now, say it aloud. Let it guide you tomorrow morning when the alarm rings, when the decision between comfort and growth confronts you. For this is the choice that defines the great from the mediocre, the fulfilled from the regretful, the leaders from the followers. Discipline is the invisible crown upon the head of every man or woman who commands respect without demanding it. Discipline also multiplies through habit. At first it feels forced, deliberate, unnatural. But repetition transforms effort into ease. The stride that once felt like theater becomes second nature. The voice that once trembled becomes steady. The posture that once required attention becomes automatic. This is the beauty of discipline. It turns chosen actions into effortless identity. What once required effort now requires no thought at all. And in this way, discipline frees you, because it ingrains certainty so deeply into your being that it becomes who you are rather than what you do. You will notice also that discipline attracts respect in ways nothing else can. People may admire talent, they may envy luck, but they trust discipline. They know that the disciplined man will show up, rain or shine. They know that his words are not the whim of a moment, but the reflection of steady character. And so doors open for him that remain closed to others. Opportunities align with him because he is reliable. And wealth in all its forms gravitates toward him because he has proven he can sustain it. This is why I say discipline is not merely a tool, it is the very currency of success. Think for a moment of those who failed, not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked discipline. They began strong but faded quickly. They had vision but no consistency, and so their walk crumbled. Their certainty dissolved, their dreams withered. Now compare them to the ones who endured, who carried themselves with ownership not for days but for decades. Their lives bear fruit others marvel at, and yet their secret is no mystery. It was discipline. They chose, daily, to walk as though it was already theirs. And in time it was. The equation is simple. The cost is clear. The reward is beyond measure. So let me urge you, do not despise the small daily acts of discipline, for they are the bricks of the palace you are building. Each morning you rise and walk with ownership. You lay another stone. Each decision to act in alignment with your vision, you strengthen the foundation. And though the palace may not appear overnight, one day you will look around and realize you are standing in the very halls you once imagined. And it will not surprise you, for you walked as though it was already yours all along. So let us anchor ourselves again with the law. I embrace discipline as my freedom. My daily walk forges my destiny. I refuse the chains of comfort. Say it in the morning. Say it in the evening. Say it when you are tempted to give up. And most of all, live it in your stride, your choices, your habits. For discipline is not the enemy. It is the architect of your freedom. There is another law woven deeply into this principle, and it is one that many overlook until it is too late, the law of sacrifice. To walk as though it is already yours means you will, by necessity, release certain things along the way. You cannot carry the posture of ownership while dragging the chains of your old life. You cannot rise to a higher level while clinging to every comfort of the lower one. Sacrifice is not punishment. It is the natural exchange of one state for another. The farmer who plants his seed sacrifices it to the soil, but in that sacrifice he gains the harvest. The student who gives up idle hours for study sacrifices comfort, but in that sacrifice he gains knowledge and opportunity. And the man or woman who walks with certainty, even in fear, sacrifices hesitation, excuses, and smallness, and gains in return a life of authority, fulfillment, and freedom. Every great stride forward demands a price. The question is not whether you will sacrifice, but whether you will sacrifice wisely. Too often people imagine they can walk with conviction and yet hold tightly to their old habits, their old excuses, their old distractions. But certainty does not flourish in divided soil. You cannot plant the seeds of greatness in ground already choked with weeds. You must clear the field. You must decide what you will leave behind so that your new stride can take root. This is why sacrifice is not optional, it is essential. And here is the paradox. Once embraced, sacrifice is not loss at all, but investment. Every comfort you set aside, every indulgence you deny, every fear you confront becomes the down payment on the future you desire. And when the harvest comes, you will look back and see that the price you paid was small compared to the reward you received. So let us write the law now and speak it aloud until it is etched into your being. I sacrifice what is small to gain what is great. I release the chains of comfort to walk into my future. I invest today for tomorrow's freedom. Say it again, write it on your page. For you will be tempted daily to believe that sacrifice is too costly, but remind yourself that the true cost lies in refusing to sacrifice, the cost of wasted years, the cost of unfulfilled potential, the cost of living in fear while opportunity passes you by. Those are the heaviest losses a human being can bear, and they are borne not by those who sacrifice, but by those who refuse. Consider the lives of those who achieved greatness in any field, business, art, science, leadership. Without exception, they walked away from something in order to walk toward something greater. They gave up comfort to gain character. They gave up distractions to gain focus. They gave up the approval of the crowd to gain the satisfaction of their vision. And though the world sometimes called them foolish in the moment, history has called them wise. Because when you know where you are going, sacrifice ceases to feel like loss. It feels like clarity. It feels like freedom, it feels like purpose, and purpose always outweighs comfort. There is also a hidden power in sacrifice that few recognize. It purifies your stride. When you let go of lesser things, you begin to walk lighter, freer, faster. Fear loses its grip, not because it has vanished, but because you no longer carry the baggage it feeds upon. Doubt loses its echo, because you have silenced the voices of distraction. And certainty grows louder because there is space for it to be heard. In this way, sacrifice is not merely subtraction, it is multiplication. It multiplies your strength by removing what weakens you. It multiplies your vision by removing what clouds you. It multiplies your stride by removing what slows you. And so what once felt like a painful choice soon reveals itself as the very act that unlocked your power. Think also of the message your sacrifices send to your subconscious. Each time you give up a comfort for the sake of your vision, your subconscious receives the command, this must be important, this must be who I am, and with each command, your inner image shifts further into alignment with your higher self. Sacrifice, then, is not only about what you give up, it is about what you declare to yourself. It is the steady drumbeat that says, I will not live small, I will not settle, I am moving forward, no matter the cost. And soon the cost feels less like a burden and more like a badge of honor. You begin to wear it proudly, knowing that every sacrifice has carved a path for your future self to walk with freedom and dignity. Now reflect for a moment. What must you sacrifice to walk as though it is already yours? What habits must you release? What distractions must you silence? What fears must you confront? Write them down. Look them in the eye. Do not flinch. For it is better to sacrifice them willingly now than to have them rob you slowly for years to come. Each day you delay, they steal a little more of your strength, a little more of your vision, a little more of your destiny. But each day you sacrifice, you reclaim ground, you grow stronger, you walk freer, and in time you look back and realize that nothing you released was ever truly worth keeping. So let us fix this truth firmly in mind. I sacrifice what is small to gain what is great. I release the chains of comfort to walk into my future. I invest today for tomorrow's freedom. Carry it with you into every decision. Speak it when the temptation comes to choose ease over growth. Write it again when doubt whispers that the price is too high. And most of all, live it with your stride. For the man or woman who embraces sacrifice walks with a freedom that no one can take away. And in that freedom lies the power to create a life that is truly their own. There is a higher layer to this truth, one that reaches beyond discipline and sacrifice, and that is vision. Walking as though it is already yours requires that you know what it is. Too many people drift through life without a clear destination, and so their walk lacks power, their stride lacks direction. A ship with no chart may move, but it will never arrive. A man with no vision may act, but his actions will scatter like leaves in the wind. Vision is the map that gives your stride meaning. It is the picture that allows your certainty to have form. Without vision, Walking as though it is already yours becomes vague, hollow, unfocused. But with vision, every step becomes precise, every sacrifice purposeful, every discipline worthwhile, and so you must define it. What is it you are walking toward? What is the worthy goal that gives your life direction? Do not be afraid to dream boldly here, for the law of life is that we become what we think about most of the time. If your thoughts are small, your life will be small. If your thoughts are scattered, your life will be scattered. But if your thoughts are bold, consistent, and aligned with a vision worthy of your best, your life will begin to expand toward that vision. The man who sees himself as a leader and walks with the bearing of one will in time become one. The woman who envisions herself free, independent, successful, and walks daily as though that freedom is hers will in time live it. The vision precedes the reality, just as the blueprint precedes the building. No builder begins without a plan, no sculptor begins without a design, and no man should walk as though it is already his without first knowing what it is. Now let us anchor this into practice. Take out your paper, write down the vision you hold for yourself, clear, specific, worthy of your best effort. Do not settle for vague hopes. Do not settle for what others expect. Write down the true vision that burns within you, even if it terrifies you, especially if it terrifies you. For the vision that frightens you is often the one most aligned with your destiny, and once you have written it, speak this law with me: I walk with vision clear before me. My stride is directed by purpose. I become what I think about most. Speak it until it feels natural, until your very walk seems to move in rhythm with those words. Think for a moment about the countless people who wander through life without vision. They wake, they work, they sleep, but they never rise. They live as though life is happening to them rather than through them. And so they accept whatever comes, never realizing that vision could have turned the tide. They do not walk with certainty because there is nothing certain to walk toward. They do not carry themselves with ownership because they have never claimed ownership of a dream. And the tragedy is that they mistake motion for progress. They confuse activity with direction. But direction is everything. 10 steps in the right direction are worth more than 1,000 steps in circles. And vision is what sets the direction. Once you hold a clear vision, fear begins to lose its strength. Doubt begins to fade. Sacrifice becomes easier because you know what you are trading for. Discipline becomes lighter because you see the destination ahead. Vision is the great clarifier. It simplifies choices. It answers questions. It silences confusion. You no longer wonder whether to say yes or no because the vision answers for you. You no longer wonder whether to keep going because the vision pulls you forward. And when others question you, as they inevitably will, you smile quietly because you know what they do not, that the vision is already yours in seed form and you are simply walking it into reality. Vision also inspires those around you. When you carry yourself with clarity, others are drawn to you. They sense the certainty of your direction. They feel the weight of your purpose. And though they may not share your vision, they will often lend their strength to help you fulfill it, because people long to be part of something greater than themselves. In this way, your vision not only guides you but gathers others, and soon you find that you are no longer walking alone. You are leading. You are creating momentum not only for yourself but for all who believe in the clarity you embody. But vision must be nurtured. It is not enough to write it once and forget it. You must impress it upon your mind daily. Read it, visualize it, speak it. Let it become the backdrop of your thoughts, the undercurrent of your walk. For the law remains, we become what we think about. If you think daily on fear, you will live in fear. If you think daily on lack, you will live in lack. But if you think daily on vision, you will live in vision. And in time, the world will bend to reflect the picture you have held steadily in your mind. This is not superstition. This is cause and effect. This is the natural law of mind and life. So once again, let us speak the law. I walk with vision clear before me. My stride is directed by purpose. I become what I think about most. Carry it with you into your mornings. Whisper it in your evenings. Let it steady your step when fear rises, and let it sharpen your focus when distractions call. For vision is the compass, the map, the lighthouse, and when you walk with it before you, you are no longer wandering, you are arriving. There is one final truth to complete this journey, and it may be the most liberating of all, the law of identity. To walk as though it is already yours is not merely about discipline, sacrifice, or even vision. It is about identity. Because in the end, you will always live according to who you believe yourself to be. If you see yourself as unworthy, you will sabotage every opportunity that comes. If you see yourself as small, you will shrink back when greatness calls. If you see yourself as broken, you will stumble even when the path is clear. But if you see yourself as worthy, as powerful, as chosen, you will rise to every occasion. You will carry yourself with the quiet assurance of one who belongs. And the world, seeing that identity expressed in your walk, will confirm it again and again. Identity is destiny. Change your identity, and your life must follow. How then do we change identity? By assumption, by acting as though it is already yours until the image settles into your bones. Identity is not inherited, it is built. It is not given, it is claimed. Each day you walk with ownership. You reinforce the image of the person you are becoming. Each sacrifice you make confirms the identity of someone who values growth over comfort. Each discipline you practice confirms the identity of someone who chooses freedom over chains. And each vision you hold before your eyes confirms the identity of someone destined to live it. Slowly, steadily, the subconscious says, "This is who I am." And when that identity is fixed, the battle is already won. For you cannot consistently live in contradiction to the person you believe yourself to be. Let us write the law clearly now, and I urge you to say it with conviction, to write it with determination, to carry it until it becomes part of your very breath. I am already the person I seek to become. My walk reflects my true identity. My life bends to who I believe I am. Say it aloud. Feel the weight of it. For this is not wishful thinking, it is alignment. The world mirrors back the identity you carry inside, and once your identity rises, nothing external can pull you permanently down. Even in failure, you will rise again because your identity demands it. Even in setbacks, you will continue forward because your identity commands it. And soon the success you once feared would elude you will chase you because it recognizes you as its rightful owner. Think of the difference between a guest and a homeowner. A guest hesitates, asks permission, moves cautiously, afraid of breaking something. A homeowner moves freely, confidently, naturally, because he knows it is his. That is the difference identity makes. When you see yourself as the rightful owner of your vision, you no longer ask permission to live it. You no longer tiptoe through life as though you don't belong. You stride with the authority of a homeowner because you know this life is yours to build, yours to shape, yours to command. And just like that, doors open, opportunities align, people respond, because you are no longer carrying yourself like a visitor, but like an owner. This, my friend, is the essence of it all. Walk like it's already yours, even if you're terrified. Walk with discipline, because discipline is freedom. Walk with sacrifice, because sacrifice is investment. Walk with vision, because vision is direction. And above all, walk with identity, because identity is destiny. The fear will come, yes, but fear is not the enemy. Fear is the forge. It is the heat that tempers your steel. It is the backdrop against which your certainty shines. So do not wait for fear to vanish. Walk with it, carry it, outpace it, and in time you will look back and see that fear was never the master. It was merely the shadow, and shadows cannot survive in the light of conviction. And now I leave you with the final challenge. For 30 days, live this way. 30 days of walking as though it is already yours. 30 days of repeating the laws we have spoken. 30 days of acting in alignment with the identity you are becoming. Write them, speak them, live them until they become inseparable from your stride. Do this and you will see change, not in theory but in reality. You will feel the ground shift beneath your feet. You will see opportunities you once overlooked. You will sense a power within you that was always there, waiting for your permission to rise. And you will know with a certainty that no one can take away that your life bends to your identity. So once more, let us speak it together one last time. I am already the person I seek to become. My walk reflects my true identity. My life bends to who I believe I am. Say it in the morning when fear whispers. Say it at night when doubt stirs. Say it when you triumph and say it when you stumble. And most of all, live it with every step you take. For the world does not wait for those who hesitate. It bows to those who walk as though it is already